You're watching Pyro Media Network.
I gotta tell you something I could do. I could be running around chasing you, but I won't. Cause I got better things to do. Rather spend my precious time chasing somebody who loves me too. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive, life. If you hadn't run away every time I asked you stay, you would sleep right next to me tonight. But you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had my ways. I found your matrix and your psychics on the winning way. But you didn't win this, it's a part of the game.
Hello, Pyro Media family. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Hey, everybody. I'm over here trying to do two things at one time, and it's not working out. Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday, Junior. My name is Nicole D. Vick, Dr. Nicole D. Vick. I'm going to get it together. I am. Welcome to my video podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I come live every week to bring you important issues from in the Black community from a social justice / public health perspective. That's the only way I see the world. Like, listen, I'm Black. Therefore, I'm going to see the world in that way. And the social justice thing is just kind of my background and my professional expertise. And so that it is what it is. I am talking to you all this week. We're going to do a part 2 of this whole concept of being mothers to adult children. It's really an important topic, near and dear to my heart. I have an adult child, and back in the day, she was 19, 20. Now she's like, ooh, she creeping up to 30. And I'm like, what? I don't know, girl. You get old. I'm not getting old. You getting old. I don't know what's going on. That's your problem. I'm sorry, right? I apologize. You're bad. But I wanted to talk to someone who I respect so much. She is an educator. She is an artist. She is all the things. I also feel like, honestly, she's like an auntie. She has come to the house in the years past to help my daughter with her artistic creations. I remember one day Andrea brought home the bottom half of a mannequin. I don't know what listen, I went picking her up from school. And she come with dragging this thing. I'm like, what is going on? Oh, I found this thing. And it was the bottom half of a male mannequin. And I'm like, what are you going to do with this thing? And she's like, I'm going to paint it. And so I asked our guest tonight, I said, because I knew she was an artist, I said, can you help her figure out what to do? And she gladly came over and said, listen, you got to sand it down. You got to spray paint it. And let me tell you, that bottom half, I forgot what we decided to call him. The bottom half male mannequin thing is still sitting in my living room now as a piece of art. I love it. I just love Dellis as well. She's our guest today. So let's bring her on and let's start this conversation about how the journey of motherhood does evolve as your children age, and also sort of how that really impacts who we are as women ourselves, right? So we often focus on our kids, but what about how we feel and how we're doing as we mother grown people? All right, let's bring on our guest. Hey, Dellis. It's so good to
I
see you.
love that story. I remember that so well. It was so much fun. I died laughing when you called me and said she brought that thing home. It
I'm
was
like, what are
hilarious.
you doing? And it was, I think she must have found it. This was when they were building the expo line. So there was like a lot of vacant lots, and where I would
Yep.
pick her up, she must have seen, I don't know what happened, child, but she dragged that dang on thing. And being the mama that I am, I didn't say, girl, throw that away. I said, all right, go put it in the car.
Let's do this
Um,
thing.
and let's get it together. And he's still sitting in the front of the house. He's still
I
posted.
love it. I love it. Well, you know what? That kind of is a great segue into the way I was with my kids. They had a lot of wild, crazy ideas and all these kinds of things. And I was the type of mother that let them run with it, because that's how you learn.
Yes.
I'm glad, I was happy to see that you were that way as well, because that's what our kids need.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about it. How many kids do you have?
So I have three, and kids is not the word I would use for them right now, because two of them are in their 40s and one's in their 30s. So but they knew that once each of them, turned 21, that's it. I was done. Like, okay, I'm not claiming you anymore because I'm not aging. Y'all are, but I'm not. So, after each one turn, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm child free.
See, I thought I was the only one that felt the way. I'm like, wait, how are they getting older, but I'm not getting older because I don't feel older. You know what I mean? But I
Exactly.
know they're getting older, which means I'm technically getting older, but I'm like, no, I'm not.
We are right here with that. We are together on that. I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And they knew, they accepted it. They knew. Each of them think they are an only child anyway. So yeah, that's how they, act. So yeah.
Yeah. So how has your role as a mother changed as your children? And I mean, again, to be fair, your children have been adults for a while. Andrea is she's close to 32 herself. So it's like,
Right.
it's not like they're 21 anymore, but I still think that our role does evolve. So do you sense
It
a
does.
change even as they've gotten into their 30s and 40s?
It does. The whole guiding thing when they're young and their formative years, you're very present. You're very into everything that they're doing. I was not a helicopter mom, but I did expose them to as much as I could so that they could make informed decisions about what they wanted to do with their lives. So it was, I think, a culture shock for me as they got older, that I didn't need to play that role with them anymore. So I had to step back and do some adjusting and realize, oh, they're not kids anymore. So the relationships began to change, and it didn't become the one where they are so dependent on you. In fact, sometimes I was more dependent on each of them for certain things. They were all very technical, and they're the whole tech, generation. So I would just say, hey, do this,
Fix it.
or how do
Yeah.
you do this, or show me how to do. So it was almost a role reversal for some of those things until I, was able to learn and not have to call on them as much. But the relationship itself is what was kind of changing, and it was pleasant because you weren't as worried and concerned, every time they walked out the house, because now they're not living under your roof, so you're not privy to every aspect of their life like you were, when they were living under your roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, the youngest, though, is different than the older two. She will FaceTime me almost every day. And if I don't pick up right away or don't pick up at all, there might be helicopters or, sirens or whatever looking for me. So, that happens.
That sounds like Andrea. She'll be like, excuse, hello, hello. I'm like, girl, I'm over here doing something. And it's so funny because it's that same, like, where were you? Excuse me. I guess like my job is to answer when she called, I have to answer the phone. And I'm like,
That is
girl,
the only job as far as they're concerned.
like, excuse me. I'm like, what? I'm doing something. And she's already told me, well, when you retire, you just go wherever I'm living. That's where you just coming to live with me. And I'm like, what? What if I want to be somewhere else? She's like, no. So wherever I'm going, you just gonna have to go. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay. I didn't know that was the plan that was made for me, but okay. And another thing I want to share and hear your thoughts, because I know some of your kids are not in local, they're out of state, right?
Right.
So Andrea moved to Arizona, and it wasn't even like, Mom, I'm moving to Arizona. It was like, I'm moving to Arizona. And I'm like, oh, okay. But the story is though, and she's been there a little over a year. When I knew she was fine, right? She's gone, she's fine. I talked to her, we were in touch. It was not a thing. But it wasn't until I went to her home,
See
saw,
it.
I was like, she's fine. I had to touch the house. I had to like, okay, she's good. And I don't know if
Yes.
is that a universal mother thing? Like, I know she's
That is a
okay.
universal mother thing. That
Okay.
is absolutely a universal mother thing. I had to do that each time the kids went away to college. I've got to go and, set it up, set the room up, make sure everything's fine, meet the people that are going to be around them, all of the above. So, yes, the middle child lives in Boston with my grandbabies, which, is a thing. Anyway, and the two that live in California right now I don't have grandbabies for them, but the older one, my son Janin, he lives up in San Francisco. He is
Mhm.
preparing to sell his house to move to Maine. I'm like, Maine? Why? So I
Me?
have two people on the West Coast. What's going on? So they're like, yeah, you'll have some place to visit, because we're doing this. Not
That's
happy.
interesting because I know she even said, "Well, we're not staying in Arizona." I'm like, "Well, where are you going after? What?" She's like, "Yeah, I think we're going to go to North Carolina next." I'm like, "So y'all just on the world tour? Like, where y'all going? Y'all moving around
So
the
they're
country?"
doing the nomad life. What's going on?
Yeah. She's like, "Yeah, we're moving to North Carolina next." And I was like, "Wow." She's like, "So you can just, when you retire, just come and move with us and you can just be with me." And I'm like, "What if I don't want to be in North Carolina?" So it's just really funny to hear, their vision for us, which
Exactly.
is not my vision for me. I'm like, okay, I don't know. What
Well, I'm
surprised
gonna
you?
have to be pretty incapacitated for me to, just be wherever, one of them are. I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm gonna be that, dependent, y'all need to move here so I can be in
Right.
my comfortable surroundings.
I'm like, okay. But I actually thought about it. I said, well, I could probably have her build a tiny house on the back of, one of the new tiny homes. I could be in the backyard. I was like, maybe. We'll see though. Because I also want to move to Ghana. So I don't know.
I'm like, that's a long ways off. We don't have to think about that, right now. I know
Right.
it's good to plan, but slow your roll.
I know. I said, wait till I'm like all the way slowed down. Because if I'm planning on retiring, I don't know if I told you, Dallas, I'm planning on retiring in 3 years. I was like, I think I want to
What?
leave early. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody says that. I'm like,
I can't even envision that.
I think I'm gonna do it. And I keep saying it. So we'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see. But
But to be fair, um, I'm retired from the whole education thing, but my husband keeps asking, when am I going to retire? I said, I am retired. And he looks at me and is like, no, you're not, because I'm busier now than when I was working.
see, and that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna do other stuff. I think I'm gonna probably
Exactly.
start teaching, go back into teaching again, writing, talking, consulting. I can do other things for maybe another 10
Yeah.
years. And then I'll actually like officially be like,
Stop. Yeah.
or and maybe at that point I'll open a nail salon. Maybe we'll see.
Girl, those things are, yeah, I like those. I watch those.
And that's so funny because I know you're an artist, and I often don't consider myself an artist, but I'm like, I mean, this
You
is
are.
definitely creativity, right? Like a form of
That,
creativity.
yes, you are an artist.
And I be sitting here just as intent and just working and got my tools behind me and everything. So it's funny, how I don't consider it, but it's like, actually, I kind of am. What boundaries have you set or learned to respect as your children have grown? Especially like you said, you have one that has grandkids, and there's any boundaries that you've either had to set with your own kids or have learned to respect from them as they've gotten older?
So I'm trying to think what kind of boundaries, because we're pretty open. We feel comfortable enough to say anything, do anything, because my kids come home and they just come on in, because it's still their home. So I can't really think of anything, any kind of limitation that would be in our relationships at all.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's a good thing.
I mean, that's how it was with my parents. We moved back into my family home, and when I would come and check on my father, I'm just coming on in because I still have my key. You know, I'm like, I ain't giving up the key. Yeah, same with them.
Yeah.
It's a very open, loving family where I can't think of um, I can't think of anything that I wouldn't be able to talk with them about,
Mm.
bring up subject matter or whatever, um, or vice versa. They could ask us anything, talking to us about anything. So, yeah, no, no boundaries.
I think that's great because there's some families, even with my mom, it's like certain things I don't think she's set a boundary on me, but there's certain things that I'm like,
You don't feel comfortable, yeah.
that's okay. We just gonna call few times a year on them key holidays, and that's it. Because we're so different, and there's just this disconnect, and that's unfortunate for me and her, I think. But I think the other side of it is I was more intentional about how my relationship with my own child. Though I was, if me and my mom are this way, I said I'm going exact opposite direction with my child because I don't want that kind of relationship with her. I want us to be able to have a close relationship.
Right.
And like you said, there's some things that I've been told that she's told me. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I needed to know that, but thank you for telling me. Or I'm like, oh boy, but okay, all right. And I'm grateful that she is
She
comfortable.
felt
Right?
comfortable. Yeah.
Right. And even now, mom, me and my friend had this, situation. What you think? And I'm like, well, so I'm grateful for that because, I don't think that I don't think I have that. I don't know, I ain't gonna put my mom on Front Street, but I don't think that it's the same.
Right.
And we definitely created something that's a lot better, a lot, more open than what my generation or what my experience was with my family. We're going to go to commercial. Girl, we didn't talk so much. We got to go to a commercial break.
This thing.
We're going to come back in a few minutes and have a little more conversation.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
What's going on, y'all? It's Kwame Speaks from Kwame Speaks Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
are back with my friend Dellis Frank, talking about being parents, mothers of adult children, and sort of the lessons we've learned, and the beauty of the relationship and connection. And one thing you talked about is openness. You did kind of allude to this too, that your family, kind of your parents were similarly open. What lessons from your own mother or mother figures shape how you parent your children even now? And like you said, they're not children no more, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no. I get it. Yeah, it's like, how do you refer to them? My daughter, my whatever. Anyway, I think what lessons that have been passed down from my side are setting high expectations. My parents put a high value on education, and being present, and being service oriented. My father started out as moved on to other things. I think he finally was a fiscal analyst for the county. My mother started out as a nurse, and then she moved on to become a professor and so forth. But with all of that, they, their jobs and their outside interests were always service oriented, helping other people. So all of those kinds of expectations were set for me, my brother. So for my kids, it was the same way. It was not, are you going to college? Is, which college are you going to? Which one do you want to go to? That kind of thing. That was the circulating question around all of the friends. So when the expectations are set and they're set high, they will reach it. They will strive, and they will, and I was very happy, even though, one of them struggled a little bit, but still got back on track. And you have that in every family. But again, I can't stress that enough. And I think that's what is the main thing that was passed down from my parents. My mother especially, she was absolutely my shero. She not only had a nursing degree from Loma Linda, she got her master's and PhD from UCLA and SC. So she was an overachiever. Yeah, she was well, when they played against each other, I did not want to be in the room with her. So, she's very vocal, little bitty thing too. But she was an overachiever. She starts organizations. She would start a social club. She did the PTA. She did, so it was always, what can you do to be of service? So that's what was passed down to me. And hopefully I, have instilled that in my kids. And I've seen that, the youngest was a tutor and an aide, when she was, younger. And I'm like, it took, it always surprises you when the things you hope you have instilled in your kids really, kind of takes effect, and you see the examples of it, it just warms your heart. But I think that is the main thing that came down from my folks.
That's awesome. Do you see any of that, what you receive from your parents in the child that has your grandchildren, like how they're
Oh,
raised?
absolutely, absolutely. And that is one thing where I do, I'll put my hands in there every now and then just to make sure that, that kind of thing is happening. There was one Christmas, I had them, and they were young. They're like, right now they're 13 and 9, something like that. But this was when they were,
Wow.
this is when they were like 9 and 4, whatever. They were younger, and I had them researching nonprofit organizations. I said, "Yeah, you guys are going to be, you're going to give. This is a charity thing. You're going to, the service of giving." So they had to research, and find out, what their mission was, and whether they were nonprofit or not. Because I gave them each $100 to donate. So because they are involved with, other things, they do track, they do dance, they do gymnastics. So all of those organizations are nonprofit. So they
Mm.
didn't have to go far to look. They just had to look to make sure that their status was nonprofit so that, we could do it. So I gave them a certain amount of time to do the investigation and everything, and let me know which organizations. So I made the donations in their names, and had the receipt, and so that's what among other things, that was one of their Christmas presents that they were giving to organizations that help the community. That was one of the parameters. They had to really give back to the community that we were a part of.
I think that's so important. But at the same time, I'm like, you had them babies over there
Yeah.
doing homework.
Oh, girl, when they come here for summer, it's Camp Frank, right? They're doing homework before they do the fun stuff. And we have, zip line and a pond and stuff in the backyard. Yeah. Before you get to do all of the swinging and zipping and all of that, you got to get some work done first. You got to read a book. You got to, workbook. You got to do all of this.
That is funny.
Education was big in this family.
Yeah, that's the teacher side of you. Now, how long were you a teacher? Did you teach?
Woo! Yeah, when did I start? I think I started teaching in 90. Went over to in Inglewood, went over to LUSD in 99. So yeah, I was teaching a while, and I still, I have to scratch that itch every now and then, and I'll do a workshop at Craft Contemporary, museum, or workshop here or there, because I just got to teach.
Right. I think it's like a, I don't know what you call that, but it's in you. You can't like not do it, even
calling.
With me, right? My career.
And that's what my work, my art practice, the social justice series that I do is teaching. I want those pieces to stimulate critical conversations. So it is all about, educating, teaching, getting those conversations going and that sort of thing. And I had my kids doing things too. When I had these huge projects that I had to correct and grade, they helped. I gave them a checklist, so they would do all of the part that was just, did they have this? Did they have this? And, so they could check all that off. So then I could just concentrate on the content. Right. So they were all involved with that as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I used to have them grade my stuff. I'm like, can you grade these things for me? So yes, like, come on, help me.
I know. Well, and then the middle child, she went on to become an educator. She's a professor. She's Dr. too.
Okay. Oh man, right. And it's so funny because, like I said, I feel like it's just like in you. You can't, if you're an educator or a teacher, it's like, it's not something you just can do. It's kind of like a part of you. Because like you said, it doesn't matter. Even for me, people ask me about nails. I'm like, okay, so, there's polygel, there's acrylic. I'm like, okay. And then this is like this. I'm teaching people. So it's like, it don't matter what it is. I'm like, oh yeah. And then, so it's once it's
well, and that, I think that's another thing that was passed down from my parents. My kids, their grandkids, when they read a book, they had to do a book report. When they turned it in, both my mother and my father, they'd be redlining and they gave it back. They had to correct it before they, gave it back. So that I think that's why all three of them they're great writers. I wish he did that for me because I'm not the best writer. They are excellent. I'm a math person. Anyway, so they would have to do that in order to get their little change, So you had to read the book, you had to summarize that book, and then when you summarize it, if the grammar was off, if the sentence structure was all of that, you had to correct it and then send it back to the grandparents, Wow. So I continue that tradition of, at least they had to do workbooks, they had to do a certain number of sheets a day, and when the little one was just learning her alphabet, we had the cards lined up and she had to tell me what the thing was. They had to put it in order, so It was all, you had to stimulate them. You had to make learning fun.
Exactly. And like you said, set that expectation and that standard. Like this is the expectation that you need to meet. I'm all for it. I'm like, I want to do some workbook sheets. I feel like in my mind, I can even smell like workbook. I can see the pages, like, because, we all had in our lives had to do a workbook on something. And so it's like, wow, that is so cool. Let's talk a little bit about your art. Before we came on, you were asking me about this ankle, and I was telling you, I'm using a cane. And the funny thing is, I forgot to tell you, I actually started blinging mine. I have rhinestones for my nails, so I started rhinestoning it with rhinestones. And I actually bought specific glue for the cane is metal. I don't think I'm gonna bling the whole thing. We'll see. But anyway, and you were talking about you actually had created some cane. I'm like, wait a minute now. So I don't know if you want to show him or talk about the whole idea of those canes.
So, my thing with it, and this was one of the ones that my mother used when, I told you she broke her ankle too. And it is a process. The healing is a process. So I feel you, I understand what you were going through. But I was invited to participate in an exhibition called Opulent Mobility, and yes, opulent being the word there, that just because you need help, assistance, or whatever, because of some kind of disability, it shouldn't be ugly. Why can't, just because it has to be useful doesn't mean it can't be aesthetically pleasing. So I was going to do some crutches, and I'm like, hey, I've got my mother's cane still here, so I will do that. So I called it ancestral walking stick. So there are beads up here. And little bling, I've got African materials down in the middle section. I've got some cowrie. So it moves, it makes sounds, if you actually use it, and honoring my South Asian ancestry, I've got this wire, intricate kind of wrapping down at the bottom. There's actually, I was in, and this was in the Opulent Mobility show. There is an Opulent Mobility show going on at the Brand Library right now, which is fantastic. It was the first one that Laura Brody actually did, and it's if anybody can go out there, go, because it is absolutely wonderful. I'm also participating in the LA County cohorts where they're talking about artists with disabilities. And, we talk about, you never know what kind of disability someone has. I'm like, me even having to wear glasses, that's basically a disability. I wouldn't be able to read if I didn't have, these glasses on. So, that's one of the things. People that have disabilities shouldn't be invisible.
Right.
We are all part of this society, and we shouldn't be invisible, and we should have, beautiful blinged out things to assist in our disabilities.
Wow.
That's just one part of my practice.
Exactly right. I'm like, among other things. And there was someone I had met, I believe he was the president of the County Commission on Disabilities. And he had made a point, a comment, and I was like, whoa, never thought about it, but he is 100% correct. He said, if you're able to walk and talk and see and do all the things, you are temporarily abled, because at some point, the human experience, something gonna happen. Like you said, your vision, you're gonna need glasses.
It can go. I didn't know this until I was well into, starting that other side of the hill. So yeah. And the reason she had to use the cane, because she broke her ankle. You never know what could happen. So yeah, she was disabled, had to use the cane. So yes, you are just temporarily abled.
That's right. Because at some point that clock, this living, just keep living, something gonna happen, and you're gonna need some help. And so I wish that, and to your point, everyone deserves to live in a society that works for them. And I just wish that when people design cities, buildings, facilities, that they would make the point right? To keep those people in mind. Because even for me, and I know there's ADA and all these regulations, but even for me with this
That
walker,
may or may not stay.
I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, why is this door feel like it weigh 1,000 pounds? All I'm trying to do is go to the bathroom, and I can't even. I got to dang near fling the door open and try to hurry up and walk through it. And like, what is going on? So why
And
do
all
we?
the curbs are an afterthought, to have that little ramp. It was an after. You see the crews in there chopping up the stuff because like, oh yeah, the
Right.
people that can't, afterthought, instead of being in the original design of things.
Right. And I think we forget that those kinds of things benefit more people. Think about, somebody said that to me recently too. Those curb cuts on the sidewalk at the corner with the little ramp where people can get up the curb. He said most people they use that are women with babies in the stroller or parents with babies in the strollers. Like everybody benefits from those things. So
everybody benefit. But just like Black folks and civil rights, we win the rights and everybody benefits.
Exactly, but nobody don't want to see it like that. See, now that's a whole nother episode.
There's so many things that we can, the piece that's behind me, that's called Black Phoenix. And the concept behind that is the Black community. So the bottom part is Black. It's way down at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. Us, our struggles, our trauma, our post-traumatic slave syndrome, all of that. But we rise, and that's where the colorful part comes in. That's our community. We bring the color and the flavor. So just like a phoenix, we rise and we bring it better.
Absolutely, 100%. Where can people find out more about you? Because we done got to the end of the episode. We done did this.
We were talking. Oh, that time is gone. Oh my gosh. Yes, DellisFrank.com is my website. Dellis Frank the artist _ the artist is my Instagram. And on my website, DellisFrank.com, there is another link where you can see more updated work, because my website, I don't go on and change that, but the artwork archive where I store my images, you can go on and see a lot more work there.
Awesome. Thank you.
And if you want to get on my mailing list, let me know.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yes, please put me on the mail. I think no, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I see stuff from you.
I think you might be.
I feel like I do. So maybe I am. I don't know.
I think you are. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm in the Beverly Hills Art Show this weekend. I've got a show at the Makery downtown. I've got a few more shows coming up. So yeah, I'm out and about. I'm doing stuff.
Okay. And maybe I can visit now that I can drive and stuff, and my little walker will come out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much for joining me and having this beautiful conversation. I feel like you were the perfect person to talk about it. You only have one adult child. You got 3. So you got a wonderful breadth of perspective on this thing. And I really enjoyed having you. So thank you so much for joining me. All right, let me go ahead and tell everybody where to find me. You can find me on my website, www.NicoleDvick.com. There I have copies of my book, Pushing Through, Finding the Light in Every Lesson, Push Through 52 Weeks of Light in Tough Times, and the latest, which is an anthology called Triumph in the Trenches. It's a book about navigating the workforce, because Black folk, we have a hard time navigating a whole bunch of things, including the workforce. I'm also in social media, less on Instagram. I feel like Instagram, I don't know. Everybody's saying Instagram going downhill. I don't know. But I do post on LinkedIn, and you can find me there. Next week, I'm going to rerun a really cool episode that Andrea and I did. It was based on a TikTok video where this woman was like, y'all grown parents, y'all know why y'all kids don't talk to you. And she laid it out. And so that's what we're going to rerun next week. You're going to hear my perspective and Andrea's perspective on sometimes in relationships be real funny with your, adult children. And usually it's the parents' fault. Y'all be tripping sometimes. Not me though, and not Dellis. Y'all be tripping on your kids. And then y'all be wondering why your kids don't want to talk to you. It's usually something that you done did wrong and you need to reflect. So we're going to talk about that on that rerun next week. All right, everybody. I'll see you. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.